Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shalita. We find ourselves here on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parashas Korach, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. Good Chodesh to everyone, Chodesh Tov, good Erev Shabbos. And I reminded our Baal Tokeya in Shul earlier today that it's only 3 months until Rosh Hashanah, so 3/4 of the year have passed. We're in the last quarter, so I guess we have to make it count. In the meantime, please continue davening for Chayalei Tzva Gana Yisrael, for Shlem L'chol Petzua Yisrael, and the safe return of our hostages. And we learn each day, Lili Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon Arav Daron V'Sheli Hashem Yakum Damo. The next chapter, which might be a little bit technical, even a little bit too technical for my liking, but we learn nonetheless, Cheshbon Zmanei HaBoker. We discussed yesterday about times in the morning, so let's look at it from a more technical matter. Ladas Rabim, Hefresh Hazman Shebein Amor HaShachar Lehenei Tzacham Ve'Eretz Yisrael Hukushir Mahalach Arba Mil. So according to many, the difference in time between Amor HaShachar and Nates, so we discussed yesterday, Amor HaShachar is the beginning appearance of some sort of light and actual sunrise. So in Israel, it's the distance of walking 4 miles to 72 dakot, which is 72 minutes. V'hakavana, Shebimei Nisan v'Tishrei over 72 dakot Mishosh She'ir HaMizrach Ad Shehachama Zorachas. So the intention is that in the months of, let's say, the days of Nisan, in the spring season and in the fall season, 72 minutes pass from the time that it starts to begin to appear light until the sun actually rises. But you have to know that, of course, this time changes through the different seasons of the year. So in the days of Nisan and Tishrei, so he writes 5/3, 5/10. So we have to obviously reverse it here. We do the months first. So that's March 5th and October 5th. I get myself confused. So the rising of the sun is the shortest. And the sun rises 72 minutes after Amor HaShachar. However, in the winter days, then the period of the sun rising, it takes a little longer. So already in the height of the Choref, or in the beginning of the 12/22, he writes 22/12, but it's December 22nd, over 78 dakos. So it's not 72, but it's 6 minutes longer. It's 78 minutes until the sun rises. He says it's 6:22. Wait, what do we know? Today we're in 6:27. So in 22/6 on June 22nd, then over us 88 dakos memor shachar netzacham. So it's not 72, not 78, but it's 88 minutes from alos until nates. So how do we calculate exactly the time of Amor HaShachar according to this? Yesh l'chashev b'chol yom es hazman shebo tagia hachama 16.1 malot mitachal ofek v'oz hu zman Amor HaShachar. So we have something called 16.1 degrees, and that's how we figure out zman of Alos HaShachar. Again, this is where the Zemanim charts come in handy. I don't think anyone ever has to actually figure it out. We have it all available. If anyone has a smartphone, it's also easily figurable, outable. There's actually a great website called myzemanim.com, myzemanim.com. We are paid no advertising fees. This is just a wonderful service. People ask me that all the time when they're traveling. There's 2 things you have to have, myzemanim.com and also Go Daven. Go Daven if you want to know where the nearest minyan is, and My Zemanim if you need to know, let's say you're traveling somewhere, what time does Shabbos start, what time is candles, what time does Shabbos end, what time is sunset, because it depends on where you were. Last summer, I was in Western Canada, and Shabbos was over after 11 o'clock in July, something like that. So you have to know, sunset was 10 o'clock at night. So you have to know where you are, and you have to be able to calculate. So we don't actually have to do the calculations, you just have to be able to know how to look it up. Let's get back to the text. But this is according to the opinion that Amor HaShachar is from the time that a little faint light starts to illuminate from the east. But there are some that say that there's actually an earlier time where, not even if it's fainter light than that, 17.5 malos mitachas laofek, when the sun reaches 17.5 degrees. So it's better then to follow the later opinion of 16.1 degrees. And therefore you know that you can time of need, you could at least daven Kriya Shema and daven as we discussed yesterday. I mentioned yesterday also regarding fast days. So fast days will always use the later Zman, that the fast will start later in case somebody wants to get up and eat or have something to drink before the fast begins. Gam legabe zman mishiakar nisar safek. When it comes to the time of mishiakar, which we said is the first time you can differentiate between blue and white or someone that you don't barely recognize, there's also a doubt. So even though Chachamim Chazal, they categorize this as the ability to differentiate between blue and white, as I've just mentioned, or to recognize someone that you don't necessarily know. So that's a wonderful categorization, but what is the actual time? So we're not sure. So most people agree that it's around 50 minutes before sunrise. And he says, look in the note on a very specific time. So if you look in the note, it's note number 2. Just glancing at it, you'll see a lot of numbers. I'm not going to bore you with that. But when you look at a Zemanim chart, and you'll see that sometimes for Alos or for Mishiakar, there are 2 different times. This is why, because we have a machloka. So if you're not sure, you should just ask your Rav what you should do. But generally speaking, doesn't necessarily apply to us. But it'll happen. Let's say someone is traveling and want to know what's the earliest time they could put on tefillin before a flight, or they're traveling somewhere and want to know what time this Shachris is. These types of questions are practical. But again, not so much you have to know how to calculate, but you have to know where to look up these questions and where to look up this Zemanim. So with that, I hope everyone has a peaceful and restful Shabbos ahead. Thank you so much for joining us. Please continue davening for Chayleit Tzvagan Yisrael, Flosh Lam Chol Tzvei Yisrael, the safe return of our hostages. Nishmat Sar Daniel Shimon, our Avdonam V'Shali Shamkan Damo. Again, Shabbat Shalom Barach. We'll see you here next time.